a city bustling with the vibrant energy of cultures colliding, where food from every corner of the globe melds into a melodic tapestry of flavors and aromas, we find a man named Leo, a hard-working Filipino immigrant. Every day, Leo drove through the streets of his suburban neighborhood, working tirelessly in his family's restaurant. His heart was as warm as the steaming bowls of pancit he served, but there was something more than just the daily grind that sparked in him. A deep-seated desire for acceptance and belonging. Leo's life was neatly tucked into a routine, the rhythms of which were comforting. Rising at dawn, he would prepare ingredients for the day's specials, humming traditional Filipino tunes while slicing ginger and marinating meats. The restaurant became an extension of himself, a place where he fostered friendship and laughter amid the crackling of sizzling pans. One fateful evening, after a long shift filled with laughter and joy, Leo decided to take a drive to clear his mind. The sun slipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of fiery orange and dusky pink. As he maneuvered through the familiar streets, he felt a sense of freedom. The evening air whispered through his open window, carrying the scent of jasmine and fried rice from the distant kitchens that reminded him of home. But as Leo turned a corner, his serene moment shattered abruptly. The flashing lights in his rearview mirror transformed his peaceful evening into a scene of anxiety. The unmistakable blue and red lights of a police vehicle illuminated the darkness behind him. With a racing heart, he pulled over, unsure of what he had done wrong. The officer emerged from the car, an imposing figure with a stern expression painted on his face. Officer Davis had a reputation, one that reeked of biases, a charged demeanor full of judgment targeted at those different from him. Unbeknownst to Leo, this would become a moment that would challenge both men's perceptions of each other in ways neither could foresee. "License and registration," Officer Davis commanded, his voice deep and authoritative. Leo complied, his hands shaking slightly as he fished out his documents. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked, his voice steady despite the quiver of fear lurking under the surface. "Your taillight is out," Davis replied curtly, scanning Leo's face with narrowed eyes. But the check didn't end there. As Davis studied Leo, his gaze lingered, a moment too long on his appearance. The man's smooth brown skin and slightly accented English triggered something within the officer, a preconceived notion ingrained by years of societal bias. Without understanding the depth of his thoughts, he began questioning Leo more aggressively. "Where are you really from?" Davis pressed, his tone dripping with suspicion. "Just down the road, sir. I run a restaurant." Leo's voice was tinged with confusion, not understanding how where he lived could be scrutinized so harshly. "I mean, where are you really from?" Davis reiterated, emphasizing the insinuation. Leo felt a surge of indignation rise within him. He thought of all the hard work he had done, how he had come to this country seeking a better life, to build his dreams, to share his culture. He stood firm. "I was born in the Philippines. I'm an American citizen." The officer scoffed, stepping closer to Leo's window. "You sure about that? Looks like you're hiding something." In that moment, the atmosphere crackled with tension. The improbable exchange captured the stark realities of discrimination and misunderstanding that Leo had experienced in his life, but thought he had left behind. "Enough!" Leo exclaimed, his voice rising amid the oppressive weight of the situation. "I'm tired of this. I work hard. I deserve respect, just like anyone else." The passion behind his words surprised even him. For a moment, silence hung in the air. Davis, taken aback by the unexpected assertiveness, hesitated. The officer could feel something shifting, not just in his perception of Leo, but in the very essence of their interaction. Then, without warning, he snapped back into his authoritative role. "You don't get to speak to me that way, buddy. You don't know who you're messing with." The line flashed in Davis's mind, a line drawn by time, bias, and upbringing. But Leo's heart raced not with fear, but with the fervor of defending his identity. "And you don't know me, officer. You're making assumptions based on how I look. Listen, I came here to build something for myself and my family. I didn't ask to be treated like a criminal for simply driving home after a long day's work. The unexpected twist hung like a pendulum between them, and for the first time, Officer Davis genuinely looked at Leo. Was this the confrontation he had anticipated, or was something deeper happening? The officer was forced to confront his own biases, the ugly truths he carried like shadows that clouded his judgment. Before he could respond, a voice interrupted them. A thin figure appeared at the end of the street, weaving through the onlookers who had gathered out of curiosity. It was Lena, a community activist known for standing up against injustices. She stared at Davis with an intensity that seemed to shatter the tension that had filled the air. "Hey, what's going on here?" Lena approached boldly, her tone fierce yet measured. In that moment, Leo felt gratitude wash over him. Lena had always championed causes like his, her fiery spirit matched by a heart that understood the pulse of the community. Davis turned, casting her an annoyed glance. Just a routine stop, nothing for you to worry about. But he could sense the shift, the protective air that surrounded Leo and the growing crowd behind him. Lena forged on undeterred. "Routine looks more like profiling to me. Why's a hard-working man being treated like a criminal?" Her words resonated within the crowd, inciting murmurs of agreement. The officer noticed the change in the atmosphere. He could feel the weight of the onlookers' eyes fall upon him, each one littered with questions, challenges, and an unwavering support for Leo. Stripped of his arrogance, Davis shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am, I was merely doing my job," he retorted, but his voice lacked conviction. "That's exactly the problem, officer. You think your only job is to enforce the law, but your job is also to protect the vulnerable, the ones who are often unjustly accused. Do you even see the person in front of you?" Lena's words pierced through Davis's defenses, forcing him to consider the impact of his actions. For Leo, this was more than just an encounter with authority. It was a shared moment of humanity. He took a deep breath, drawing strength from the solidarity forming around him. He had lived these experiences, witnessed frustrated conversations around dinner tables, comforted friends who had faced the same prejudices. And now, standing united with Lena and the crowd, he felt a sense of purpose swelling within him. The officer, feeling his grip on the situation slipping, took a step back. The surrounding crowd now represented something bigger, an awakening to challenges faced by many, countless individuals unwilling to back down. "This is my chance to speak up for what's right," Leo thought, his voice steady but filled with unyielding emotion. "You see this man? He's not a criminal. He's a person with hopes and dreams, just like you. We can't let assumption dictate our realities. I'm not asking for anything more than to be treated with dignity." In the backdrop of the vibrant summer night, words began to flow like the gentle breeze through the trees. Leo spoke passionately, recounting tales of his journey, the struggles of his family, and the love that had brought them to this land of opportunity. He painted a picture of dedication and resilience, starkly juxtaposed against the initial judgment he had faced only moments ago. The crowd stood in rapt silence, captivated by his story, and in that silence, Officer Davis found himself. The crowd's support resonated within him. The questions about his actions shifted to reflections of his character. In awe of the transformation unfolding before his eyes, he began to ask himself, "Who am I in this story?" As Leo's words resonated into the night, a subtle shift began to occur in Officer Davis. It was as if layers of long-held beliefs started peeling off. Could he indeed be a part of a narrative that embraced compassion rather than just authority? After what felt like an eternity, Officer Davis took a step back, letting Leo's truth wash over him like a gentle tide, and he broke the silence. "Look, I apologize for how I treated you. I let my biases cloud my judgment." Gasps rippled through the crowd, surprise echoing through those gathered. Leo opened his mouth in disbelief. With every word, Davis wasn't simply apologizing. He was confronting his past. acknowledging the instances where justice had been strayed due to impatience and preconceived notions. Yet, more importantly, he understood that his journey didn't just lie in the badge he wore. It lay in the skin he was in, the voices he had yet to hear, and the humanity that connected them. This moment could change everything, Leo thought, feeling a warmth wash over him. But Davis wasn't finished. I want to learn. I want to do better. This might just be the beginning of understanding the communities I serve. His sincerity rippled through the crowd, transforming the tension from anger to hope. A sense of unity blossomed as everyone present grasped the essence of the moment. Leo stepped forward, the smile on his face reflecting both vulnerability and strength. That's all I ask for, officer. Together, let's break down the walls instead of building them higher. Lena nodded, and the crowd erupted into applause, chanting Leo's name. Voices matter. Stories matter. They call, and Leo felt the embrace of his community around him, a patchwork of colors and cultures standing united. That evening, not only did Leo conquer a misunderstanding, he unwittingly sparked an important conversation, a light shining on the importance of shared experiences and understanding within the fabric of society. Officer Davis may have arrived with biases, but he left seeing things anew, every word spoken that night shaping his path ahead. Weeks turned into months, and the ripple effects of that night continued, weaving a new narrative through the fabric of their community. Officer Davis, inspired by that unexpected encounter, began forming an outreach program aimed at bridging gaps between the police and minority communities, a step towards healing and reconciliation. Leo noticed changes too. The restaurant blossomed, with customers from various backgrounds, drawn by the story that had unfurled that night. People from all walks of life, eager to foster understanding over a plate of steaming pancit. With every conversation shared, stories began weaving bridges between cultures. A moment that was meant to divide became an opportunity to unite. As Leo stirred his pans in the kitchen, filled with the scent of fresh ingredients, he often reflected on that day, the start of a journey filled with unexpected encounters. The growing crowd outside his restaurant reminded him that unity truly had the power to change hearts and minds. In the end, it wasn't just a traffic stop. It became a testament to the beauty of humanity, the kindling of dialogues that were long overdue, and the recognition that beyond every badge and uniform lay a story waiting to be told, a destiny waiting to be embraced. And so, the unlikely encounter between the racist cop and a Filipino man led to a greater movement, reminding them all that respect, understanding, and love can unearth the most profound changes. The journey of understanding never ends. Let this tale be a reminder that connections can change lives, and narratives can redefine society. Let's reflect, listen, and learn together to build a world that embraces diversity, compassion, and inclusivity as its core values.